Tea time.
Welcome everybody! Souldin the Grin brothers here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. I am continuing my Tea Time Christmas gauntlet, as it were. My Tea Time calendar gauntlet of doing a tea time for each of these calendar teas I'm having. Of course, as I may have mentioned before, I'm going to excuse myself from days where I'm actually at work in terms of recording, so I'm not doing all 24, but I'm hoping to at least via convenient days end up recording a tea time for each day I've got at least one of the teas, because it's not all 24 days is a new tea, it's like 12 of the days is a new tea. Well, 11 because I've actually had one of the teas before. In any case, today's tea is a thing for Christmas, candy cane. It's my number 2, is candy cane. And let's see, it's a peppermint herbal and green tea. Yes, that's what it's listed as its type. It straight up says it's a fusion of herbal, green, and it specifically mentions peppermint. I think it's because it's got like 34% peppermint leaves, and given how much I dislike mint, that's a little worrying. Brew time recommendation is 2 to 3 minutes. It's from the English tea shop, as all these Christmas teas are. Both herbal and green tea, this peppermint tea contains the additional flavours of orange, vanilla, cinnamon, and roasted chicory. Now, I like orange and I like vanilla in my tea, and I like a hint of cinnamon, but I'm not a fan of mint teas, as you all know. And this one specifically goes so far to not just label itself as a herbal or a green tea, but specifically peppermint tea. So, worries there. I am most certainly worried. Whew. But I'm trying it also without milk, because I tried the last tea with milk. So I'm going to try this one without milk, even though I feel like I should have reversed this and it might be better off for me. We'll find out. We'll find out towards the end. I'm having it in a nice fancy English cup I've got here. You know, he's even got a little plate for it and a little sort of teaspoon. I have a nice little set. Didn't bring the teapot along because I'm not sure I'm going to like this one, but you know. In any case, for today's tea time, well, the Pokemon Gold and Silver related tea time I did was primarily inspired by the fact that I will potentially be playing Pokemon Silver in 2019, specifying the year because I'm not sure when these tea times are being uploaded. Because through Nanka's Pokemon Verse Adventure, more specifically its sequel NPMOK. However, it's not guaranteed that I'll be playing Pokemon Silver. Whether I'll be playing Pokemon Silver depends on feedback when I post up a forum post to just see whether there's interest in it. If not, I plan to gather interest via playing a different game in an interactive format and see if I can draw people in that way, so that when I do the Nanka's Pokemon Miiverse Adventure sequel, it is guaranteed some popularity. And the game I've been considering playing for a shorter playthrough with less questions but still an interactive element is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. As such, I figured, well, why don't I make a Legend of Zelda video? I couldn't think of a topic to talk about Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for an entire 15 to 20 minutes, which I hope to keep this at. However, I can mention my top 6 favourite Legend of Zelda games, so I figured, okay, let's do that, you know. And starting off with number 6 is, well, conveniently what I've been talking about. Ocarina of Time 3D, specifically the 3D version, although there's not a huge amount of difference with it. It's just that the 3DS version was the version that I actually ended up playing through. I never actually completed Ocarina of Time when I was a kid on the N64. I got to the section where Link aged up into an adult, stepped outside, saw the entire area was filled with redeads, and was like, nope. So, yeah, never went further than the Temple of Time, because, oh gosh, redeads, they're scary. And at the time, I was like, oh man, he aged up. I preferred him as a kid. But nowadays, I'm cool both sides. I think it's really cool, the whole age progression sort of thing and the time travel sort of thing. That's really cool. Seeing how things have changed. Yeah, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D was a brilliant first experience on the 3DS. It was truly blew my mind seeing how well, not only the fact that it was on a handheld system, but in the fact that it was of such quality and of an improvement to the handheld system in 3D, which is funny to think about nowadays given we've got the Nintendo Switch, but it was truly mind-blowing to see how well it looked and controlled and how it was even better than the N64 version. There's a lot of charm to the world of Ocarina of Time, you know, of Hyrule. The Great Deku Tree and the revival of the Great Deku Tree is some memorable experiences. The game's smooth, it plays well, despite how small it nowadays feels, it felt vast and massive, but never too much so. back when I was a kid. And I feel that's kind of a good way to go about it. Whilst I feel there should have been another, like, village aside from, if it's Kakari Village, to give more of a sense of, citizens about the place. I do appreciate that its size isn't overwhelming like a lot of games nowadays, and it was much more focused and linear. The lack of side quests is actually a problem when I'm going to be doing an interactive element to it, but I feel that it was it's really good in terms of playing. And I really appreciate the more straightforward nature of the game, even if there was a bit of exploration in terms of what do I do sort of thing. And there were some side quests to get the bottles and such, but it never felt too much, Great little combat, really cool sort of time mechanic and different weapons you can use in the game. And on the 3DS version, it also introduced gyroscope controls, where I managed to basically ace those like slingshot and the bow and arrow mini games because I got really good with the gyro controls. Had a lot of fun there. I enjoyed the characters and the world of Ocarina of Time. I particularly enjoyed visiting Lana Ranch and such. And it was a really enjoyable game. And it's my sixth favourite Legend of Zelda game. Moving on to then number 5. My fifth favourite Legend of Zelda game is Rafi's favourite Legend of Zelda game, and that is Four Swords Adventure. Whilst I never completed this one, unlike the Four Swords game on the 3DS eShop, which was, I believe, the Four Swords game you got via A Link to the Past Game Boy Advance release, the one where you fought Vae. Admittedly, you fight Vae in the Four Swords Adventure one as well, but there's a hidden boss after Vae in Four Swords Adventure. But Four Swords Adventure was the console-based one, and also had the advantage of full-play co-op being a lot easier to do because of, access to it and all, rather than having to need the 4-way Game Boy Advance link cable, which we never had. But it's a really good game. It's really funny seeing the SNES-style just top-down Zelda game on a sort of console. But it's a great fun. I have a lot of fun memories of the game on the GameCube, even though it was only for a short period. Like Raph setting everyone on fire with a fire rod, Kiris stealing all of our Force Gems, every single one of them. Silverwing, of course, charging straight forward into the action and trying bagsies on the more power-based items, and then it was just me, just kind of tagging along. I think me and Silverwing usually ended up being competitive, trying to beat each other to it, but Kiris would always end up stealing all the Force Gems, and then Raph would kill us all! It's Rafi's favourite Zelda game. Maybe because he kept killing us all. But yeah, it's really cool having the sort of world of it. The Ganon is included in the game, but they kind of subtly hint to him, and otherwise Vae takes the main role as the villain, which is really neat. I, of course, love the Link to the Past, and so I really liked seeing the style of A Link to the Past return, and it was also combined with the style of the Wind Waker in terms of the Toon Link style for the marketing and the artwork outside of the game, which is also really cool. And of course it also has Tingle in it, my favourite Legend of Zelda character, so even though he was a right pain in the ass in that game, it was nice seeing him about the place. Yeah, I like Four Swords Adventure because of both its multiplayer aspect and the fact that it's also a competitive aspect to try to just destroy one another. And when you grow up with 3 other brothers, games which allow you to both work together and murder one another with friendly fire is always a plus. It's fun, it's frantic, it's a delight. Moving on then to number 4? Yes, number 4. My 4th favourite Legend of Zelda game is Skyward Sword on the Nintendo Wii. I have yet to actually get around to completing the game, but Skyward Sword was the Zelda game I ended up playing as a result of the Wii U drought. I didn't initially pick it up because Twilight Princess kind of put me off Legend of Zelda games. I wasn't as invested in it, and the lips of the characters looked weird in Skyward Sword. I'm not a huge Zelda fan, so it's like I can give that a pass. But then the Wii U had a drought, and so I sort of saw, Skyward Sword, it's a slightly reduced price, and I mean, Nintendo reduced prices, they barely come down in price. So I got the game along with Metroid Other M. I believe I got Metroid Other M at that point. No, I got Metroid Other M earlier. Yeah, so it was just Skyward Sword at that point. I got Skyward Sword, and I played that during 2013. Yeah, in 2013 I ended up playing for a good chunk, and I absolutely adore that game. As I said, the lips look a bit weird on some of the characters, but otherwise the graphical style is absolutely beautiful. The sort of watercolour aspect to it is all so wonderful. The motion control combat is a real plus to me. I really enjoy it when motion controls work well, and the Zelda game tailored the motion controls to just such a brilliant level. Yes, after you do the flying for a bit, you're going to have to recalibrate your Wii remote. Flying tends to mess it up. But when aside from the calibration for the flying sections, I didn't have too many calibration problems, only after a couple hours of playing, it'd maybe mess up, which is, fair enough. But when you get into the combat and you get to use the Wii motion controls, it's just magical how it works and just how much more engaging each sort of individual fight is. You have to be a lot more thoughtful with it. Some really cool puzzles, some really awesome locations. The world really does feel natural. It feels more abandoned, as it were, where nature has gotten to flourish, and like the way the dungeons, it smoothly progresses into the dungeon area sort of thing is really cool. There are some fantastic characters in it. Fi is one of my favourite Legend of Zelda characters. I'd even put her as my second favourite Legend of Zelda character. She is one of my favourite designs of all time. Groot is absolutely hilarious. Really like how the Link and Zelda relationship is done. And on that note, best Zelda. Skyward Sword has best Zelda. Absolute favourite. Like, Tetra was good, but she was more so good because of her less Zelda qualities. This is best Zelda. It actually really annoyed me when Super Smash Bros. For Wii U came about and there was no Skyward Sword representation among Link or Zelda. Particularly Zelda. Like, that was what I was hoping for. I was so hoping for Skyward Sword Zelda because I absolutely loved her. Skyward Sword had a lot of fun doing the bug catching. Had a lot of fun doing this little mini game where you have to like cut down the swords. And again, although the calibration gets messed up the moment you do the flying, it's really cool doing the flying. There's this rain effects are great. And there's this one area you have to go to after you complete the sort of first sort of few land areas, and you have to get like an upgrade, I believe, for Fi. You go to this one stormy area, and oh my gosh, it is breathtaking. Really need to get around to finishing that game because I absolutely loved it, and it's one of my favourite Wii games, and I consider the Wii very highly. So yeah, Skyward Sword is my fourth favourite Legend of Zelda game. Without any waiting, let's move on to number 3. My third favourite Legend of Zelda game is Wind Waker. Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker on the GameCube. I love the art style. I love the sort of cel-shaded graphics. I prefer it far over a lot of the realistic art styles for most games. So, them going from Ocarina of Time to Toon Link, ditching that Space World demo kind of thing, and went for the Toon Link art style, much more appealing. And so I immediately was more hooked into it. I love the introduction, making it more personal with your sister being captured. I'm not a fan of open world games, but the exploration of the sea is wonderful. It's relaxing, it's daunting, it screams adventure in some of the best ways possible. I love how Toon Link has the most character out of any of the Links, and it helps because of his expressions, his little meow sort of thing, It's full of life, and that's really cool. Tetra again is like the second best Zelda, and Tingle was playable in the game, technically, through the Tingle tuner, through the GBA, which is awesome. That was actually kind of through Wind Waker, because I've never really played much of Majora's Mask. Wind Waker actually is where I came to know Tingle and really got to like him as a character until he became my favourite Legend of Zelda character. Yeah, the art style is absolutely wonderful. The combat, like picking up other enemies' weapons and whacking them, was such a brilliant thing to do for the first time. And stuff like the grappling hook, I've always preferred it over the hook shot. It just has a nicer feel to it and everything. Meddling in Makar is the little sort of spirit quest sort of thing to restore the power of the Master Sword. Absolutely wonderful. And yeah, sure there were some annoyances, tracking down on the Triforce shards and such, but that doesn't take away from a lot of the good of the game. The combat, like being able to do the counter, that made the combat truly exciting. That was the edge it needed. It's I have a toss-up between whether I prefer Wind Waker or Skyward Sword's combat in terms of how it engages you, but it truly did a great job. As I said, Tingle Tuner, wonderful feature to be able to have co-op, and there was a lot of fun to be taken with the photos. Okay, number 2. My second favourite Legend of Zelda game was for a long time my favourite Legend of Zelda game of all, and maybe it's because I played it long ago, because it's also my first Legend of Zelda game I played. A Link to the Past is my second favourite Legend of Zelda game of all. Really weird that I haven't played A Link Between Worlds at any point yet, but despite being a direct sequel. But my second favourite Legend of Zelda game is A Link to the Past. I love that game. Sort of opening, pretty great. The top-down perspective is pretty fun. It was one of my SNES games I enjoyed. One of the SNES games I enjoyed the most playing as a kid. I love the sort of bosses. That giant worm boss was a real exciting sort of fight sort of thing. There's the area, the sort of going to the town, the bug catching net, the sort of like book and the earthquake medallion and such, and the Dark World turning into a bunny. That's hilarious, cute, and made a lot of sense. It kind of gave my mind a bit of thinking of so Link's character in this is reflective of a bunny rabbit. It's supposed to express his innocence. I felt that's a pretty novel way of trying to effectively demonstrate his character without any need of dialogue or really trying to express it anyway. His character is apparently representative of a bunny rabbit. So how you feel that is should be interpreted is up to you, but that's kind of what the idea is. Meanwhile, Ganondorf, the thief back in the day, ended up being turned into a giant pig monster, so that's reflective of his character. Greedy like a pig, apparently. Although I thought they were supposed to be more gluttonous than greedy, but you know. Yeah, I enjoy the overall design. It's a lot of fun. Charging with the boots, with the Pegasus boots, is absolutely wonderful. And it's got my preferred design for the Zoras. I really like their more monstrous looking design. It's really cool. I like the one Zora that you could even get to communicate with. That's pretty neat. And my favourite boss of any of the Legend of Zelda games is actually Blind. I always remember that. Some of you may not, but Blind the Thief, he has a whole little lore to him, which is really interesting. And he actually disguises himself as one of the maidens you have to save, one of the sort of priestesses you have to save. And it's really cool, sort of like you get into light and suddenly his true form is revealed. And I enjoyed it again, you know, Blind the Thief having a lot of backstory to him and such. And yeah, I really enjoyed the Zelda A Link to the Past. It's sort of still holds up really well today, and it's the first Legend of Zelda game I played, and it for a long time remained as my favourite one. Now, before I get on to my favourite Legend of Zelda game of all, I'm going to try out this candy cane tea. Here we go. I'm not a fan of peppermint, but here we go. Not too bad. Oh, gosh. Okay, that's hitting in strong. That's a lot of mint. Oh, gosh. If I said the other was like I ended up cleaning my teeth with afterwards. This is like drowning in it. Oh, gosh. It smelt strong minty. It wasn't too bad. It took a while for the taste to kick in, as you might have been able to tell from what I was going to say before. But, oh, gosh, that's... Okay, let's... kind of skipped my tongue there. No, it's dancing my tongue. Oh, and it's right in the back of my throat. Oh, it's like I've drowned my mouth in mouthwash, but it's not got the benefit of helping out with my ulcers. Oh, yeah, I knew I wasn't going to be a fan of it. That is so minty. It's not too bad at first, but the mint quite quickly kicks in. Oh, and it's ruined my mouth. I forgot to clean my teeth last night because I had so much mint that flowing from my mouth with the previous tea that I thought I'd already cleaned them. But this, oh gosh, feels like I drowned my mouth in toothpaste. I knew I wasn't going to be a fan of that, but oh gosh, I didn't think it'd be that bad for me. It's a good tea in terms of if you like mint. Like, Mum loved sort of the smell of it, but the orange, the vanilla, the cinnamon, they do nothing. They do nothing to stop the peppermint. So if you feel like having a peppermint tea, candy cane's the way to go. But if you don't like peppermint, it's certainly not a recommendation. Oh, maybe milk can try to drown it out. In any case, I'm going to end up going over 20 minutes, aren't I? My number one favourite Legend of Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. Yes, I already spoke about Wind Waker, but I feel the improvements made to Wind Waker HD actually surpasses the initial Wind Waker to the point where it even goes past A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past and Wind Waker on the GameCube are very close in terms of being my third and second favourite game, but Wind Waker HD manages to top both of them. It was just the push that Wind Waker needed to go above and beyond, and although it has the unfortunate sacrifice of the Tingle Tuner, my memories and experiences with Wind Waker HD have kind of been unforgettable. Maybe if I go back to it, it won't be as good, because part of the big charm to Wind Waker HD was the Miiverse, and how the taking photos aspect, which was a nice idea in Wind Waker, became so much more important in Wind Waker HD thanks to the photo gallery and the Tingle Bottles. It's a shame that Tingle Tuner got removed, because a Wii U gamepad would have worked perfectly for it, but the Tingle Bottles felt like an absolutely wonderful substitute in terms of getting me to engage with other people. The interactivity in trying to help others complete their photos, as well as to others helping me with mine. Like, I'd be sailing into a direction, and I'd immediately see a ball, stop where I was going, and immediately sail straight towards that ball. It became my absolute objective. I was dead set on trying to get as much of that figurine gallery done as possible, And it was a great time. I enjoyed sort of like jotting down my adventures, as it were, and just throwing these bowls out into the sea, often with photos to help other people with their figure galleries in the game. And that showed the power of Miiverse and how it helped enhance the game to such a great degree. Not to say that it didn't have some enhancements outside of Miiverse, because, again, the Wii U gamepad is, in my opinion, the very best controller ever made. It felt so much smoother and comfortable. I often would sit back and sort of relax as I would be set on my destination off to the next island on the King of Red Lions, as I'd go through my inventory, make sure I re-equip different items, check the map, sort of like on the gamepad, go through the tingle balls and all. And it felt even more adventurous. It felt like that you could have those relaxing moments, then the sort of like, yeehaw, adventure sort of thing, out on the high seas. Again, having the shoulder buttons felt so comfortable to use. Gyro controls, again, I love gyro controls, so it was a lot more fun using the grappling hook and such, and the grappling hook was fun before, but oh gosh, it's so satisfying to do that with gyro controls. And of course they had the upgrades to the boat, so yeah, the new sail allowed you to get to destinations quicker, which was really cool, and they helped fix the Triforce Hunt as well. So it had all the good things of Wind Waker, such as the auction house, the fun combat, the expressive characters, and they ended up enhancing just about everything. Again, the one negative to it was the removal of the Tingle Tuner, but gosh, they threw in a lot of things to try and make up for that, and they did a phenomenal job. Again, I'm not sure how it's going to hold up without Miiverse anymore, because Miiverse did enhance it a lot, but it's got a lot of things that helped enhance it outside of that as well. So, in terms of actually playing it and looking back on my memories of playing each of these games, even though I will never be able to re-experience the Miiverse situation again with it, looking back on it, the delight it gave me using Wind Waker HD gave me makes it truly in my heart sort of well-founded as my favourite Legend of Zelda game of all. And that's my tea time. My top 6 favourite Legend of Zelda games. Feel free to tell me your favourite Legend of Zelda games below, as well as what you think about my favourite Legend of Zelda games. And cheerio, everyone!